Hello everyone, Gianni DePoci here with you for TheoTRADE, and today is Tuesday, the 14th of January, 2025, and it's been a pretty rocky start to the year for stock markets. We are now a few weeks removed from the last all-time high, and it's actually the longest decline that we've seen unfold in stocks going back to the market bottom of October 2023. And so that's a really key and important fact that we consider as traders that trade with the trend. So we're kind of setting up here for a low of significance. Some of the cycle models I follow point to a low either being complete or imminent, but when I just look at the price action, the technicals, I haven't seen all of the evidence that I need yet to confirm that a market bottom is complete. Now, that being said, remember that this is a market of stocks. Now, what does that mean? As I look at individual stock names, I'm seeing a lot of good setups. And so, what that means is that I think the next batch of leading stocks in this bull market are already starting to make their move. And so, we'll probably see some increased turbulence over the next couple of days. We had that PPI report earlier today that showed some cooling inflationary pressures. But as I'll show you in a minute, we're really at a major crossroad when it comes to bonds and crude oil, especially as we head into tomorrow's CPI report. So you take a look at the S&P here. We are holding yesterday's low. That is a good sign. The Nasdaq is underperforming a little bit today. It's up, but not more than the S&P. I do prefer to see the Nasdaq up more than the S&P on days like today. The Dow is leading the way higher. This actually looks pretty good. Russell is up actually the most today, and you could have a decent setup here for a market bottom of significance. But I do like to take a look at semiconductors, and I actually talked about this with live members in the chat room today. And when markets were down for that period after the open, we actually still saw semiconductors holding up very well. And you have Nvidia pressing on key technical support. Once again, it's not even a week removed from its all-time high, but that still looks pretty strong. And you're seeing some other big semiconductor names like Broadcom and Marvell Technologies holding their gains pretty nicely. So I'm seeing some good things unfold in the semiconductor space, and I've been very adamant about this for the last few months, and I'm going to continue being this way until I see new all-time highs in semiconductors. This has been a thorn in my side as a market bull for a long time. I'm not comfortable seeing stocks making new highs without semiconductors participating. That could change, especially if we're coming out of a market bottom here. And in fact, as a bull, I'm kind of taking that position on right now. So when it comes to the matter of bonds, you have the 30-year Treasury bond that's making new multi-month lows. It took out the low from April of 2024 this week. That's pretty significant. But you take a look at the 10-year note, we still have not done so. I think tomorrow's CPI report is going to make or break this bond market, make or break this stock market. And a lot of it has to do with crude oil. We've been looking at this level of technical resistance here for crude oil over the last couple of months in the $76, $78 area, and we closed above it slightly yesterday, but now we're right back in that range. And I cannot stress this enough. We have a new presidential administration taking office next week. Things are going to change around energy policy. If we start to see energy rip higher, it's going to be a problem for stocks. It's going to be a problem for bonds. That being said, if we are seeing a top here in energy right now, I think it's going to provide a really solid backdrop for bonds to rebound and technology and stocks in general to rebound. Like I said, we need to see chips outperform. Now, I am keeping a close watch on precious metals. I did a presentation last week here at TheoTRADE when the market was closed on how I think, gold and silver could have really strong years. I do have a target of like 3,200 in gold. In silver, looking at silver maybe returning to its all-time highs this year in like the $48, $50 area. A couple stocks I'm watching in the space are looking pretty good. But you could take a look at the mining ETFs. They are also looking strong. So I like what's happening there. But in regards to cryptocurrencies, the fact that Bitcoin is holding up so well right now, to me says that we're not really in a risk-off environment. In fact, I did a write-up for the Sector Bullseye newsletter on Monday. You can find that at www.theotrade.com. And I talked about how, where the money flows are occurring within the broader market is not really flashing the alarm bells that much. I mean, yeah, there's been energy outperforming in the last few weeks, but bigger picture, all the money flows are still very much bullish. And with Bitcoin back above support after a potential false breakdown yesterday, I like what's happening both in Bitcoin and Ethereum. I do have a position again here in MicroStrategy that is looking good. Of course, I'm always watching names like Hut. That looks strong. But I think that precious metals could be a stealth outperformer this year. Some of the names I'm watching in that space include KGC, AGI, and even GFI. So they're not quite ready to pull the trigger on. And I think that if energy drops, crude oil forms the top here, and bonds start to rally, that could be a good sign. If you take a look at the dollar, it's still looking pretty good against the yen. The euro seems to have found some momentum here. We had some big bank earnings coming out of Italy. Some of the banks in Europe actually making some strategic investments in crypto, kind of following that sailor standard, if you will. It's kind of what I'm calling it. So in that case, if Bitcoin starts to break out again, I think you're going to see it carry kind of that risk on appetite, that risk on environment to new heights. So in terms of things that are moving today, we have this name here at the Trinity Trade Sport Radar Group looking strong here, breaking out to new highs. We also have Vistra Energy, a trade that we took on last week on Friday, actually, when stocks were selling off. So this is some of the examples that I'm talking about in terms of names that have really bucked the trend. And, with stocks being volatile here, there are still individual names that are doing well. And that's what I think we need to focus on in terms of finding the next batch of leaders in this bull market. And so if you want to learn more about that, I do have a masterclass that's going to be tomorrow starting at 2 p.m. Eastern with the Trinity Trade. Going to be breaking down all the methodology that we use to find these leading stocks, even in turbulent markets. And that's where I think the next batch of leadership comes from. But again, a lot of it has to do with energy, guys. There are some names in the energy space. We shared in the chat room, EQT looking pretty strong. That's hitting new highs. You have Antero Resources that look good. So even within the energy space, I'm not the biggest energy bull right now, but there is some slight exposure because I'm more concerned about making money than being right. I would like to see energy pull back. I would like to see bonds bottom. I think it fits better with the overall stock market picture. But even if you look at some of the big magnificent seven names, I mean, Apple's a couple weeks removed from its all-time high. Not the end of the world. Netflix coming up on its earnings here very soon. If you go back and look at previous earnings reports for Netflix, we've seen positive responses in few occasions. Amazon looking like it's trying to complete a higher low. Google, to me, looks very strong, consolidating its highs, even though quantum stocks all blew up. Google kind of weathering the storm very nicely there. I think that we should pay attention to that. And I'm also not sleeping on Microsoft this year. I think that Microsoft could be carving out a very important bottom here and reemerge as a leader within the Magnificent Seven and the overall market. You do have bank earnings coming up this week. JP Morgan looking pretty strong here, consolidating its gains just a couple percent removed from its all-time high as well. Citi looks like it's trying to break out. I'm not trading these names, but the point I'm trying to make is that these are strong charts. We have earnings. We know that that can be a positive catalyst for stocks to experience big moves. And if you're interested in doing earnings style trades, I highly recommend that you check out Don and Blake's earnings flips strategy. They take on options positions going into earnings, and it's a really unique event driven trading strategy. So very different from what I do, but I've seen the results. Very impressive. They had an excellent trade on Delta Airlines last week. So if you are looking to take some trades going into earnings season, definitely check out the earnings flips. So Aside from that, guys, that's pretty much what I'm looking at right now. We'll see how we can close out the day and close out the week. More importantly, remember that markets are closed on Monday for Martin Luther King Day. And a lot of times when you come back from those long weekends, the mood can completely change. But I can tell you this, you take a look at the VIX. The VIX is not exploding higher. Sentiment has soured. We're no longer in that happy-go-lucky, very bullish environment anymore, and that's a good thing. That is a good thing for stocks to hopefully carve out a bottom here, complete a higher low with respect to the longer term trend, and eventually continue on to new all-time highs. So that's what I'm looking at today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you in the TheoTRADE chat room and maybe even my masterclass tomorrow with the Trinity Trade. Thanks for watching.